G'day guys, God's land down under here. I haven't done a video for a little while, basically because I haven't had a lot to present to anybody. I do have an idea where we could be at though, and I'm not exactly sure what date it points to, but it still does point to 2024. I'm trying to put together a study at the moment. Some of the study that I'm putting together comes from just my own research in the Bible, but a lot of it comes from comments. Now, I'm behind with comments, and I apologise for that, but I'll give you an example as to why. If we go to YouTube Studio and I select comments I haven't replied to, I'll give you a look at how many I have. That's what I haven't replied to yet. Now, when I reply and somebody replies back, we have responses with new replies. I'll give you a look at how many of those I've got to go. And they just keep rolling on. So I'm a one-man operation with DJ helping me, but a lot of the comments are directed to me personally, or some to DJ, but as you can see, a one-man operation with this many comments to answer. Just the comments would take me 4 to 6 hours a day. We're not a monetized channel. We do this for free, for Jesus, but our time is limited. Look at this, it just keeps rolling on. I haven't even got near the bottom of replies to replies. So I've replied, somebody's replied back. These are the ones that I then haven't got to for the second reply. I mean, I can do this for an hour, I think. I'm not even getting close to the bottom. When I get to the bottom, it just resets like that. You're getting the idea. So just keeping up with the ones that I haven't replied to yet is a real job. So just so you understand that I'm not being tardy or rude when I don't reply, because there are some great replies here that I want to get to. Let's see. Oh, there was one from Tanya Wagner that we need to get to too. Tanya, if you would like to start a new reply, doesn't matter, not reply, a new comment full stop, doesn't matter what video you do it under, but make it one of the newer ones so that we see it. Let me know what you were talking about in that comment. That was very interesting. DJ and I have spoken about this a couple of times already. And comments like this, oh, that's the same one. Let's have a look. There are a couple of really great ones that gave me some good ideas. But as you can see, they're getting further and further and further down the comment list, which makes it harder and harder for me to be able to answer them. I have screenshotted some of the ones that I want to answer so that I can refine them again, but the process of actually finding comments sometimes is difficult, because over a period of a day or two, what happens is they progressively shuffle to the bottom and then get lost. So I am going to reply, but I just want to encourage everybody to stay strong. It's 9:16 in Tasmania. On the 11th, Thursday, we were looking at Patrick's timeline that he had set on the 16th, but I believe he has changed his date until August now. However, I still feel that this month is extremely significant, and I have some reasons for that. I do believe that this must definitively be the tarry period. I also believe that this must be the period of time referenced in the Bible to, if those days were not shortened, no flesh would survive. We have definitively passed the fig tree generation point whereby we can have a 7-year tribulation and a pre-tribulation rapture. We're past that. It does not matter how anybody tries to crunch the numbers. If we use 1948, 49 or 1950, July 5th, we have gone past it. It's that simple. This, in my mind, must represent a tarry period. I have a feeling that that tarry period may be 75 days. I hope not. I think the tarry period could potentially be the difference between the 1260-day count and the 1335-day count. I cannot be sure. I believe definitively that we are still having a pre-tribulation rapture, but if those days were not shortened, no flesh would survive, I believe may indicate that the start point, not the end point, the start point of the tribulation may have been extended, therefore shortening those days. Now, I don't believe the end point. I don't believe that we will finish early, because I believe that that represents the beginning of the millennial kingdom, and that is definitely an appointed fixed time. There is no verses in the Bible that mention tarrying when it comes to the beginning of the millennial kingdom. There are verses about tarrying pertaining to the return of Jesus and the rapture. There are verses about shortening those days pertaining to, I assume, the tribulation. Therefore, as we have passed this crucial date, I believe that we must be in a tarry period for the beginning of the tribulation. I think the tribulation should have started in July. Or, if we are operating by 1948 or 1949, then it should have started 12 months or 2 years ago. Excuse me. Now, if we are operating by 1948, that would make a 5-year tribulation. 1949 would be a 6-year tribulation. These are approximates. I'm not, because we have the actual days that these things happen, like May 14th for the formation of Israel in 1948. But I'm just saying, depending on how long that tarry period is. Now, I believe that the formation of Israel was 1950, July 5th, the finalisation of the formation of Israel, and when, in accordance with the book of Luke, the fig tree and all the trees, right, put forth their leaves, etc. So it was when Israel was established as a nation with all the other nations in that area, and there were other countries and governments being birthed in that particular period of time as well, 1950. If you have a look at some of the surrounding countries and their start dates and when significant things happened with their governments. I'm not going to go into that research because I've done it, but it'd take a 2-hour video just to look at each country and, examine some of the historical things that happened to the countries around Israel. So I'm still going with July 5th, 1950, which means the tarry period is now, and we need to work out what that tarry period is. It could be 75 days. but it could be something way less than that. It could be any moment. It's very difficult to tell. We have timelines, so many things now that have not produced fruit for us. We've done the Acts timeline, or various other channels have done fantastic research into that sort of thing, and it hasn't produced fruit. Now, just because we can find a timeline in the Bible, and there are many, in the book of Esther, there's some good ones. We've looked at Esther. In the book of Acts, we've looked at some of those. So just because there's a timeline that can be found in the Bible, that doesn't definitively mean that that timeline and the dates on it are to be overlaid and to give us the answer as to when the rapture comes. So whilst we have learnt a lot from that process, it hasn't produced any fruit. My thoughts at the moment are that we should have always used the start date of Israel, and we were not sure about that, but I'm leaning towards July 5th. And that we're in a tarry period now, and that we are going to go soon. Some channels speculate that the rapture was cut, the tribulation was cut back to either 5 or 3.5 years. Now, those two hypotheses would also work with 1948 and 1949, but we don't know which one we're using. Do we have a short tarry, and the end of the fig tree generation was on July 5th, for there to be a 7-year tribulation and pre-tribulation rapture? Or is there a longer tarry using 1949? Some people find significant dates there. Or is there quite a long tarry using 1948 as the start date, and a tarry of 2 up to 3.5 years, as some people have suggested? Now, we also have to look at all the other signs that we were told. Signs in the sun, moon, stars, wars and reports of wars. Nation will rise against nation, or ethnos will rise against ethnos. So cultural groups, and we're seeing all of that at the moment, definitely. The start of what could potentially be civil wars in America, France, places like that. Strife in Venezuela. New alliances or old alliances being strengthened, like Russia and Cuba. We have all this problems going on in the Taiwan Strait. Of course, Ukraine and Russia, that's a given, we know that, but we have now all sorts of movements and chatterings about NATO countries and China and troop movements and military escalations and nuclear threats. So the tarry period is going to be short, I believe. But I think it probably should have started, well, look, I don't know, maybe even in 2023, I think. And I think we've had a tarry since then. If we'd have had a nuclear war break out then that lasted for a 7-year tribulation period, who would survive that? Not many. So do we have a tarry simply based on the devastating effects that this war is going to have, and God's desire that some flesh be saved? Although we know God desires all flesh be saved, we also know that is not going to be the case. So I just want to encourage everybody to continue looking up. These are very, very critical times at the moment. We can't be sure what's going to happen when. Patrick, Brother Dana, we've had some great videos put out. End Time Watchman 777, Revelation Watchman, Repo Man, David the Watchman, Dunamis. We have just got so much good information out there, but none of it has produced fruit so far. And in reality, even though Mike has great evidence as to how he starts the year with the Star Algenib skirting along the horizon in Israel, and then he timelined that, and then where the head of the year was put back 6 months. It all timelines nicely on Mike's timeline, but he still has missing days and periods that he can't account for. Then we have calendars like the Enochian calendar, and I've never read the Book of Enoch. I've never got into extra biblical books, but other people have, and therefore I term them to be more expert than me, so I defer to their knowledge. So the Enochian calendar seems to reconcile some of those missing days that Mike has, but are we really using a calendar that was pre-flood and from an extra biblical book that we were told wasn't to be part of the canon? Or was that done simply because, Daniel talks about closing up the books until the last days? So, we're kind of told not to use that book, but in the last days, is it that book that gives us information? After all, Enoch was referenced in our canon, just as the Book of Jubilees is referenced in our canon, but it's not part of our canonised scriptures. So I am currently doing a little bit of a study as to what I think the tarry period could be, and I believe it could be from a week or two from July 5th up to 75 days at the moment. But there are so many timelines that you can overlay. There are so many day counts that you can apply to this. Now, if you have a look at Steve Fletcher, every single day, and I'm not having a go at Steve, but every single day there's a post saying, if you add 100 and days from this date, you come up with this date, the timeanddate.com website. And I'm sick of seeing these. If you add this to this day, if you add this to that day, you can't just move to the next day and then apply all the same maths and just increment one day at a time. I mean, we've got to have reason to be doing this. And the ridiculousness of some of the start points. Absolutely ridiculous. First of all, every one of them's got something to do with an event in America, and they can be political events or a dam breaking or ridiculous stuff. It's almost like these people have forgotten that God created an entire world with other countries besides America. I would challenge some of these people that are using these floating start dates for day counts to have a look at Australian history and pick some of the things that happened over here in good old Aussie land, because we're part of the world as well. Or things that happened in China or Ethiopia or Africa or Sudan or Chile or Greece or Turkey or Iran. Why is it always the USA? And essentially, USA is not even one of the biblical countries, so to speak, the Middle Eastern countries. So you might as well pick Australia or Tasmania. It's a little bit silly. I don't think that's going to produce any fruit. It's grasping at straws, and need I say, clickbait even. It's not the way we need to do this, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to put it together a little study, but my personal life and situation at the moment is in turmoil. So from day to day, it's an effort for me to just manage to do replies to comments, etc. But I haven't forgotten anybody. As you can see, they're all here. I just have so many of them to respond to. Now, there was a couple that Sister DJ pointed out to me the other day. She screenshotted them. And I know they had some really, really good, I'll see if I can find one of them now, some really, really good comments that gave me some ideas. and reference some of some channels that I hadn't seen before that also had some great ideas. And this was particularly pertaining to what the tarry period could be, what could be going on here. Actually, this may be one of them. Aha, see? So these are the sorts of comments that I've got to get to, and you have a look. These are essays with excellent information in them. Women of prayer. So I haven't forgotten anybody, and I am going to get to all of these things. But it's a massive job, and when you're under a lot of personal stress and have a lot of stuff going on, and I mean a lot, it's very hard. So this really is a job and a labour that we're doing for Jesus, and I don't want to let Jesus down, so I do want to get to all these comments, etc. But, I'm a one-man show with a lot of stuff going on. And as I showed you with the responses to responses, this one just goes on forever and ever. I would need probably, I would imagine, over a week to be able to get to all of these. And the problem is, a lot of the comments, as you can see, they're great. Not that you can see them because I'm going so fast, but they are great, so I want to get to them all. The only thing I can suggest is if you have something very important that you want to get to tell me or DJ, start a new comment. So it doesn't matter. Pick a more recent video and start a new comment, not a reply, and we'll try and get it going that way. And if there is important information that we need to backwards and forwards with each other, then perhaps we need to do it via an email or Discord so that we don't lose track of the conversation stream. But anyway, guys, keep looking up, stay positive. I have some ideas that are a combination of several Watchmen's studies, but it doesn't align with any of them in particular. I've taken a little piece out of each one where I think they've all got something right, but then have also got something wrong. And I've tried to reconcile some timelines, but my ability to produce a video at the moment is nearly impossible. I'm doing my best. Keep focused and positive. I really do think this month is still the month. There are some indications, however, that this could stretch to August and September, depending on how I manage to reconcile this tarry period with the information that I've currently got. But regardless, this is God's will. We believe in our Lord Jesus Christ and his perfection. We believe that he is the only person that can possibly save us, and we know that our beautiful Lord wants everybody saved. There's a reason for this tarry. It won't be long. We're at the end, guys. Stay strong. God bless.